Okay, the 2 minutes that we have, we'll continue. We're in the middle of a discussion about the greatness of those that sit and issue judgment, the abundant that have dayanim, the judges, are sitting and dealing with cases and have the opportunity to figure out who's right and who's wrong and really put the right law in place is tremendously virtuous. And we had several stories of Tamarim that would sit, they would learn in a specific spot to make it easier, more comfortable for those that are not perhaps ready to ask. They feel like they're interrupting or something like that. They would literally knock and say, if anyone has any questions that they would like resolved or any disputes to figure out, just come on up, and they would sit in a very good place for that and make it very, very comfortable. And then we brought the story about Reb Chisda, who was weak because he would sit down and start hearing cases, and by the time he was done, he was fasting all day. He was literally weak, and it says great things about him. But then the Gemara asks a question. I wish Yarden was here because we're talking about intermittent fasting, kind of. Until when do they sit and issue judgment? Shesha says until the time to eat, okay, which basically means brunch or breakfast time. Until that time, that's when they should sit and do it. Amar Rav Chama. Rav Chama says, "My crow, where did you get this from? What's your pasuk that you have this backing, so to speak, until you eat?" Because it says in Kehelas, "Iloch eret shemalkech noar v'sareich habeker yechelu," that negative terms for the king that is. The judges are called kings. So woe is to the land, the country, that the king, which means the judges, are behaving childish. What's called childish? And the same thing is the ministers. What they do is they're not involved in setting the Medina straight and making sure that the country is behaving properly and everything, the laws are there where they're supposed to be, but rather they're busy eating and drinking. So therefore, what we say is before you eat and drink, the judges, we're talking about fasting, Yarden. The judges, they hear the cases, and then they go out and they'll stop for their breakfast. Ashrecha eret shemalkech ben chayrim, praiseworthy or great is the country that its kings, which is a term for judges, man malki rabbana, are free, and they eat. The ministers are eating in the right time. And the pasuk continues in strength of Torah and not in the drinking of wine. Okay, so now we have a discussion. When is the right time to eat in general? Should you eat right when you wake up? Should you wait a little bit? And so on, etc. Tanu Rabban, we learned Shar Rishena, the first hour, is Maichel Ludim. That's the time when Ludim were people that were very, very hungry. They were thieves, and they would rob people and eat them. And because they're always hungry, they would eat right away in the morning. The first thing they wake up, right away they would eat. And similarly, this is from the Gur Aryeh. He says that when a person has this custom, the moment he wakes up, he eats, will eventually come to behaving like them as well and eating people, whether it means literally eating them or robbing them and so on. Someone that eats in the second hour, it's not right when he wakes up, but it's pretty soon to when he wakes up, they're very hungry as well. They go to sleep in the first hour of the day and they eat as soon as they wake up, which is the second hour. They're starving, and that's when they eat. The third hour, well, by the way, just to clarify, later the Gemara says that you should eat something. It means the whole meal. It doesn't mean you have to be fasting before, whether it's a drink or it's a snack or something. It doesn't mean that you don't eat anything. The third hour is who eats then? People that just inherited, not just people that inherited. They have they don't have any work. They won the lottery and they have a great inheritance, and they're not involved, and so therefore they don't have to worry about work. And it's not because they're starving; they're just not working now, so they eat the third hour. So the first is the worst. The second is also not a good sign. Third hour means they have time. The fourth hour, from when sun rises, is when workers work. Okay, they already started their job. They managed to get some of the work done, and these laborers, they break and they have their breakfast. And that's the way a person should do. If you're working for somebody, get the day going, start working, and then you'll stop by the fourth hour, which these days it's around 9 o'clock, because they start again. They went with the sun rising, davening first thing in the morning, and then they went to do that, and that's when they would eat. And the Gemara says, "Really? You want to tell me that the fourth hour is when laborers work, and then the fifth hour is when everyone else works?" That's not the case. Rav Papa said that the fourth hour is the time for most people. So the Gemara says, you're right. The fourth hour is the regular time to eat, and the fifth hour are for laborers because they are involved in work, so they need a little more time. Then they take a break and they have the eating. The sixth hour is for the food of Michael, Talmidei Chachamim, of those that are scholars, and they delay their eating a little bit when they get some more learning in, and then they'll eat. The Gemara then goes on to say that if you delay that even longer, and you basically go without eating at all, then it's not good for the body, just a prolonged fasting. But Abaye says this is only if you don't have anything at all to eat. But if you tasted something, which maybe applies to drinking, then it's okay as well. Obviously, when we talk about health issues and body behaviors, certain body things change over time. So not necessarily should you apply this for your practical diet of when to eat, but we're still learning about this concept. Thanks for joining me. That might have now to be continued. God willing, after Shabbos.